Like, Paul really didn't have to do much. Paul didn't have to do anything, actually. Wait a minute.
Thank you for showing me the world. You know that you are my one and only girl. Got you in my ear saying, don't do me less to your head.
What's up, YouTube? I am super elated to bring you this next video because it's been something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now, but I wanted to get done with the IVF series first. And so here we are. Two questions that I get a lot. What is the difference between the frozen and the fresh transfer? And how has your experience with Levi changed with butter? So I want to get into that a little bit. And I'm hoping, again, as with every single video, that you learn something new and that it's helpful. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I find that there is three main things that I didn't know going into it that I have found out. So one of the things that we really had to do was basically call her up and say, hey, doc, we're ready for our second baby. When can we, set up a date and time to start the conversation and to even start protocol and hopefully, move on to the next phase, which is the transfer. So that's exactly what we did. I believe end of November, beginning of November last year. So with that, as soon as we said the word, we discussed, and she understood where we were coming from and what the timeline was for us, she basically said, hey, let's get it started. I got on birth control. It's weird because with Levi, I also got on birth control. With this baby, they also had to make sure that I was on birth control. I think it's because they don't want to mess up. For those 2-week period, they don't want you to like get accidentally pregnant or just mess up with their flow. I'm not too sure what the reasoning is, to be honest, but they just didn't want you to mess with the flow. So anyway, I got on birth control and for 2 weeks. And after that that period was over, I was told, to start my protocol. My protocol this time around was very short. I didn't need a lot of medication. I only needed 2 medications, which were the estrogens to just prepare my body to do what it does. Secondly, the progesterone. So last time with Levi, the progesterones that I got were inserts 3 times a day, but this time it was quite different. So I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But this video is literally the 3 things that were extremely different from Levi. So one, as you guys know, Levi was not a frozen embryo. He was just fresh. As soon as the cells separated on the 5th day and everything looked good, we transfer them over. That's not the case for Butter and Jelly, as you know. Butter, who is now in my belly, was frozen for 2.5 years, you could say, 2 years and some odd months. And that was great. As you know, with Levi, we didn't pick. With Butter, we didn't pick. We just wanted it to be whoever God wanted to, bring next. So my doctor got to choosing. Just so you guys know, we don't, because IVF is so predictable, when it goes right, because I know there's a lot of unpredictability at the same time. It's a weird thing. However, we never got our embryos tested. By that, I mean, a lot of people that go through the process, I know a lot of people such as, celebrities. I know John Legend, him and his wife got their embryos tested because he wanted like a specific order, like he wanted a girl first and then a boy. So for me and Paul, we just wanted our babies. As long as they were healthy, we didn't care which one we had first or last or whatever. So anyway, so we left that whole responsibility to my doctor to choose. So we didn't have to do eeny, meeny, miny, mo or anything like that. Anyway, so with that, the frozen transfer, they tell you that, by the way, when we thaw these embryos, there is a chance that some of them might not survive the thawing process. And that's a scary thought, because again, here you have a healthy embryo and you freeze it and all of a sudden you learn that it didn't make it through because it didn't survive the thawing process. Kind of scary. But I was a little hesitant there, but at the same time, I'm like, if God had brought me this far, there is no way that he's not going to bring me over the hump, right? So with that in mind, I started my process, like I said, with the 2, the estrogen and the progesterone. Started taking them end of November, throughout the beginning of December time frame, early December, we had picked a date for transfer. And because I wanted, don't judge me, y'all. I really wanted a September baby. Lord. Anyway, and because I wanted a September baby, we chose the transfer date to be as later as possible. And in that case, it was December 20th. So anyway, so we picked that date, December 20th. As that time is going, I'm still taking my estrogen and progesterone to, you know, prepare my body and all of that. And the progesterone, by the way, is to thicken your lining and to just basically prepare your body saying, hey, there's a baby coming, because it still doesn't get it that there's a baby coming because you're not going through the natural process. So the frozen and the fresh transfer was quite different. With Levi, I needed a ton of medication. With this baby, I didn't need much except the 2 things that I just listed. The second thing that I found that was super different, and y'all, let me tell you how different. So I had girlfriends that were over 35 that were going through this process, right? And they automatically opted them to get progesterone shots. Progesterone shots, for those of you who don't know, are shots that you literally give yourself in the hind parts, meaning in your buttocks, okay? So basically, I was shooting myself every day. So painful. Shooting myself every day with a progesterone oil. So it's not a liquid. It's literally like progesterone oil. Like it is oil. And so if you know anything about oil, they tend to sometimes coagulate. So with that, it burned like no other. And my girlfriends would tell me about that stuff. But again, because I was doing a different protocol, because I was doing the inserts 3 times a day, that was my progesterone. Progesterone shots are usually for people who have extreme cases or for people who are over 35. That was in 2017 when I had learned about progesterone shots. However, apparently in the last 2 years, research has shown that progesterone shots are more likely to help the baby survive and help thicken your lining faster. Meaning if your uterus lining is thickened, you are able to hold this baby. Okay, because usually, as you guys might know or might not know, if you're over 35, you're automatically a geriatric pregnancy. I am not 35, I'm 33 years old. So for me, in my mind, I was going to go back to the inserts. So when I read my protocol and that's what it said, I was kind of taken back, to be honest. And I quickly reached out to my girlfriends that had gone through it. And basically they were like, oh girl, get ready. And they started giving me tips and tricks and you know how to make the process easier. Anyway, I started my medication or my progesterone shots, I think literally 2 weeks prior to my transfer. So I was taking the estrogen since I stopped the birth control, and I started my progesterone literally 2 weeks prior to giving birth. So like early-ish December. So anyway, started the first day, y'all, that I had to give myself a shot. Like, again, I had gone on Instagram. I had gone on YouTube to see how people are literally injecting themselves with this oil. And girl. Yeah. So anyway, my first shot, I was like, I am ready as it can be. Because again, I'd never done this before. Give myself shots in the butt. Gave myself the first shot, y'all. Actually, my sister-in-law gave me the first shot. And I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. It was a lot, to say the least, like a lot. I basically was like, I hate life. Because it burned. I'm like, how does oil burn? I don't know. But it burned for some odd reason. And I had done everything they told me to do, like put a pack of ice on your butt or the area 25 minutes prior to injecting the shots, just to numb that area. Because again, you want to be ready. You don't want this oil to be like, oh, I want to go in, but I don't want to go in. And y'all, the needle is like this big. And that whole needle has to go in. So anyway, she did that. But I was like, you know what? I have to do it myself because you're not always going to be there. You know what I mean? So second day, I gave myself the shot, y'all. The third and the fourth and the fifth. And you know, I'm getting used to it. It's getting easier and easier. But you guys, I reached a point where I couldn't even sit because my butt was so lumpy, and it was like the mass oil just stayed there. Like it didn't, like, even if you massaged it, like, I feel like it didn't spread as it was supposed to. I think that was the only really downside of the process for me, those progesterone shots. Again, they're not like the worst thing ever in life. Believe me, I know people have gone through worse. But I think the whole actual giving yourself the shot process was just a lot. And just to let you know how hard and how tough it's been, I actually hit a nerve in my hind parts. So, again, things people don't tell you. I don't have sensation there anymore because I hit a nerve, and that nerve, I believe, has been damaged because you're not supposed to get blood once you draw the, too much blood at least, once you draw the needle. But for me, it was like, and I don't have feeling there. So when I stand up, when I touch it, I don't have feeling there. It's one of the things that I'm just like, what on earth? Like, this is not. And, you know, the fact that my doctor, again, for me in my mind, this was for people over 35, and I'm clearly not over 35, but she was just like, listen, you want to give this baby the best chance possible, being a frozen transfer, to, you know, thrive and be good and everything else in between. So I'm like, okay, you know what, whatever it is that I need to do, let's do it. So we did that. And this time around, by the way, like, Paul really didn't have to do much. Paul didn't have to do anything, actually. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me find out. let me find out. Okay? I was the only one going through this. Okay? Paul had to do jack. Paul just had to be a supportive husband. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he didn't have to do anything this time around. The second main difference between, you know, Levi with the inserts, with the vaginal inserts, and Butter with the progesterone shots. Believe me, guys, I would take vaginal inserts over and over again rather than progesterone shots. But that's a different subject for a different day. And thirdly, the biggest difference is the fact that at 20 weeks, I had to do a fetal echogram. A fetal echogram is where they basically study the baby's heart for like an hour. Like, they look at the valves, the arteries, like every little corner of the heart. I never had to do that for Levi, but according to my doctor, that's something they just instituted not too long ago, about a year or so ago. And when I went to my fetal echogram, I actually did a video.
Hey y'all, I just came from doing the echocardiogram, which is now required for IVF patients. Everything looked normal, thank God. I think the why this was like weird for me, because again, I didn't do that with Levi, and now all of a sudden it is like required for IVF patients, or at least in Maryland or DC. So it's something we have to do. So anyway, so basically what the echocardiogram is, fetal echocardiogram, is basically looking at the heart health of the baby, ensuring like all the valves are working properly, all the arteries are good, and just really making sure that the baby's healthy and the heartbeat is wonderful and everything else in between. So I'm just really glad that, you know, they're taking the extra steps. But usually echocardiogram is for older patients. So by older, really, I mean like 35 or above, which is considered geriatric, believe it or not. Anybody that have like a history of like heart problems in their family, anybody that have a sibling that has had health problems. So it was just weird when they asked me to do it, because again, with Levi, I didn't do it. So anyway, long story short, I'll be delving into that a little deeper on the YouTube channel, and just really bringing you guys along, just again, for those of you thinking about it, some of the things to expect.
I mean, it was interesting. It was different. It was just something I've never seen. There was a doctor, there were two doctors that were literally in my ear telling me every single thing that was, you know, going on, what they were looking at, which was interesting, because it was like, okay, so now what? Because apparently with IVF babies now, they want to make sure that the hearts are functioning properly. I'm not sure if it's because there has been studies that shows that, you know, hearts don't necessarily function properly, but that's what we had to do. And this went on, imagine a sonogram, but just for the heart for an hour. Y'all, let me tell you, I was just like laying down like, is it over yet? No. Because I hear the heartbeat. I mean, the heart was pretty strong. But anyway, so that was like the most surprising thing for me because I didn't expect that. And again, I'd never had a girlfriend or anybody that had it, even the ones that were geriatric. But that's literally the three main difference, guys. Everything else has been normal as could be. There is not much difference outside of these three top things that I mentioned that I have experienced. Maybe again, it's on a case-by-case basis. As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty healthy, so I don't know if you have like certain sicknesses that you're dealing with. Maybe it might be different. So again, I hope that was helpful. I wanted to get that out there, and it's out there now. I hope I didn't scare you too much. Any questions that you have on this subject, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. I hope this was helpful, as always. And I will talk to you soon. Ciao.